You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Week 2 is here. What up? And welcome in to the Locked On NFL podcast. He's Tony Wiggins. I'm James Rapien, and we are stacked, we are packed, and loaded with a ton to get to, including some unfortunate news in New Orleans. But Tony, how are you, my man?
I am doing good. The Saints made sure that they gave the keys back to the city and said, thank you for your hospitality. They might have picked up a little something when they left here, and we'll talk about that in a second. I have to remind you guys to tune in to Locked On NFL Sunday. If you're looking for a Sunday pregame show that talks about every game and every team in depth, check out Locked On NFL Sunday and the live show every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern time. No sketches, no celebrity cameos, and no fluff. Just football every Sunday morning with your hosts, Cody Rourke and Ross Jackson. Follow and subscribe Locked On NFL on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. And don't forget to turn on notifications to be notified when the show goes live every Sunday morning. The Saints came to town, turned our stadium into their stadium, and now they're back wherever they are. I don't think they're back in New Orleans yet, but they got some members of their staff that's not feeling well, James, because of contact with COVID-19.
Yeah, this is unfortunate, and this is something that unfortunately I think we're going to be talking about throughout this season, despite vaccines and a lot of these teams being fully vaccinated or close to it. On Tuesday afternoon, Adam Schefter reporting that 8 total cases of positive tests are in the Saints organization right now, mostly coaches, 6 offensive coaches, 1 nutritionist, 1 player. As of now, their week 2 matchup against Carolina is still on. But Tony, unfortunately, I think this is just part of life this year in the NFL. We knew it was part of it last year,
right? But
I think this year it's going to be the same. And teams now, the good news is, like I said, vaccinated. These guys are all vaccinated based on what the reporting that's been done. But unfortunately, the Saints could be shorthanded or worse if there are more cases, because there is an incubation period later this week. They could have more positive tests. Suddenly we could be talking about a game that can't be played. And who knows? Hopefully that isn't the case, though.
Yeah. And, without getting to the point where we either politicize or pick sides about how we're going to, argue or debate the situation. You're right. The thing is if you just follow the rules and look at the rules the way that they're written, they're not bulletproof and they're not foolproof that something bad can't happen or occur. And unfortunately, you have to go through these things to learn what will we do in these situations. With the games being played on Sunday, everybody was happy. This isn't about what folks thought it was last year, like, oh my God, somebody's going to die. But it is about the protocols, the incubation period, how you have to quarantine, and how can you continue to function as a team if these tests do happen. I got a buddy of mine that works in a hospital. He says it's not just the people. What happens is the system gets overwhelmed and they just can't treat people that have other issues. Mm-hmm. So what happens is if this thing keeps spreading and spreading and spreading, and with the teams traveling around, and then they have to get the point to postponing games. I wonder what protocols they have in place or what contingency action they may have in place, the way you can still functionally have a season and continue to go about business as usual.
Yeah, that's to me what's going to happen eventually, Tony, because you're going to have these teams traveling, and it's inevitable, right? It's going to happen. There's going to be players that test positive, staff that test positive. Hell, their fans are, the stands are full right now. And while I think they're going to try to keep that as long as they can. And I hope so, right? Because I think fans are excited as hell to be back in stadiums. I do think that the testing is going to ramp up again, even for vaccinated personnel. So, for example, me, I cover the Bengals in Cincinnati, and I'm part of the 2M media. So, I'm tier 2. And that means I got to test now every week and bring in a negative test to every practice. And I don't get really near the players. I'm 8 to 10 feet away from players and masked up. But I think what's going to happen is daily testing again for these players. And they're not going to like it because they got the vaccine. And part of the reason they got the vaccine is so they didn't have to come in on their off day and do what? Test for COVID-19 like they did throughout the 2020 season. But I think that is coming. And the NFLPA probably does want it in a way because it's going to keep their players safe. So I would not be shocked at all if that's part of the fallout here from it. And yeah, you're right. The other part of this is we're talking about the Saints. They aren't in New Orleans, so it makes it even tougher on them as they try to coordinate this and go with the flow, so to speak, as the NFL season continues. Well,
a lot of people wonder how they look at the rules and go, why does this make sense? And why does that make sense? And why are they doing this if this happens? And why are they mandating a vaccine if you can still catch it? And so the explanation that someone gave me, because when I do my other job and I'm at the barbershop, I wear gloves. They said the gloves guarantee that whatever you're trying to avoid touching your skin on your hands, it doesn't touch the skin on your hands, right? However, if you assume that it gets on the glove and then you touch someone else, well, it's on the glove. So the explanation is the vaccine is your glove. It doesn't get to you and affect you as bad, but you can still transfer it to someone else. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're talking about here with vaccinated, non-vaccinated. The people that you pass it to if they're not vaccinated, the reason why their quarantine is longer, and I'm not saying it's right, wrong, or indifferent, but the reason why their quarantine is longer and their incubation period is longer is because medical people and scientists believe that a non-vaccinated person has a higher chance to get gravely ill. Mm-hmm. So if you can still catch it, they're not punishing you because you're not vaccinated. They're keeping you away longer to make sure that you won't succumb to the effects. Whether you agree with it or not, that's the rationale behind it. When people say, well, does it make sense that they're doing this? So I hope for, first of all, for health reasons that it's safe and that that everyone in New Orleans, they've been through a lot. I hope they stay well. But the other part is I hope we can discern the information that's going to come about with this, and the NFL can use it the proper way to continue football. Because as we saw last night and the day, all the way going back to last Thursday, we've been on pins and needles, and the fans have been so happy to finally feel a little bit of normalcy. So hopefully that'll continue, James.
Yeah, I hope so, because look, especially if you're a Saints fan today, you were impressed with what you saw on Sunday. I know Absolutely. I was. And speaking of impressed, let's dive into that next. The most impressive teams from week one, the least impressive teams from week one. That's next here on Locked On NFL. And if you're not over at BetOnline yet, betting on games, look, you're watching these games anyway if you're listening to this podcast. And whether you're a fan of the Bengals, the Jaguars, the teams Tony and I cover, or maybe you're a Cowboys fan and that unfortunate loss, a last-second loss to the Buccaneers. Regardless, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With an updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive a 100% welcome bonus. That's double your initial deposit. Free money. You want to take advantage of this right now. All you got to do is use promo code NFL100 at betonline.ag. From football, basketball, boxing, or right to your favorite Vegas casino games, BetOnline has you covered. So check them out right now. All the prop bets, all the over-unders each week this NFL season. BetOnline.ag, promo code NFL100. BetOnline is the number one spot for you, and you need to check them out right now. Again, betonline.ag.
All right, man. Segment 2 here on a Wednesday edition of Locked On NFL. James Rapien along with Tony Wiggins. Saw a lot of good football. Let's talk some football. Saw a lot of good football starting last Thursday with the Bucs and the Cowboys. I told you about Cowboys, didn't I? The Bucs and the Cowboys. And then last night, culminating the week and finishing off the week with the Raiders and the Ravens. A game that I went to sleep and I woke up because people on TV was talking so loud because of the action. So it was a well played football all weekend by a lot of people. And then we had some duds also. Let's go with the duds first, James. I'm going to go with the duds first. My most disappointing team was the team that I covered, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yep. Dud. I agree. I'm going to give you the floor for this one because I don't know. Is Urban still in Columbus? I mean, what's going on right now? Well, not that they did well at Ohio State, but what the hell's going on there in Jacksonville?
First of all, apologies to my brethren in Houston for all of that trash I talked. It was just a deflection from what might happen, but nobody saw this coming. I don't want listen. Nobody saw this coming, except if you would read the tea leaves and understand that there appeared to be. I made a little funny video earlier about the miscommunication from the first preseason game. There just seems to be this disconnect that's going on with Urban Meyer and the veteran NFL coaches on the staff, from them wanting to come out and be very vanilla in the preseason and not show anything. Urban feeling the need to show some stuff so people can be enthusiastic about the team, and they just look like a team who started training camp 2 weeks ago. They had guys not knowing how to line up, where to line up. They had drops. They had guys who, in like 3 straight plays, they had a guy line up wrong. Then they had 2 guys line up wrong. And then the next time they had 12 guys in the huddle. So I'm still trying to figure out how you get 12 guys in the huddle when you've been playing football your whole natural life. You know somebody ain't supposed to be out there, dude.
Can't line up wrong if you got 12 in the huddle.
You can't. Yeah, you're right. So just for a guy who is a stickler for details in his dialogue, just for a dude who is all about doing things on the football field, doing things the right way, and that just preaches discipline and all of that stuff. That was absolutely the worst discipline I've ever seen from a football team. And they looked like the football version of the Bad News Bears, minus Trevor Lawrence. He played he threw 3 picks, but he also threw 3 touchdowns. He looked like a rookie, but he also looked like a guy who tried to play hero ball, who's not afraid of the moment. So that's one positive and one plus, but they were god awful for the rest of the game. And 37-21, which was the final score, is not indicative of how big a margin Houston beat them by.
No, they crushed them. And I agree with you. That was certainly one of the duds. Another one, let's go to the NFC. Ron, I don't know what the hell you're doing, Aaron Rodgers, but if you're going to be a distraction all offseason, you better show up. And not just show up to play, actually play. And Look, we started with the Saints, and it's a feel-good story. Jameis Winston throwing 5 touchdowns, and he looked good. And last week, I think I predicted that the Saints might make the playoffs, and I feel good about that prediction after today. But you know what I don't feel good about? The Packers' chances of making the playoffs, because the lack of focus. I mean, 38-3, that's impossible. Like, even Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars at the end of the game put up some points. Like, what are we doing? And here's the thing, Tony, if the Packers continue to struggle, and they're not this week, they're going to crush the Detroit Lions. And if they don't, then all hell's going to break loose. But I think they will. But if they struggle, they go 9-8. If they don't look like themselves, I think this is going to be you should have probably just traded him. And having an unhappy star, sometimes holding on to it might not be the best case scenario. And I'm all about going and getting that star, right? You go and get James Harden if you're the Brooklyn Nets. You go and get the star quarterback, Tom Brady, if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And you go get Aaron Rodgers, or you keep him if you have him. So I don't blame the Packers for doing it. But this could blow up in their face, because there's no way in hell you can tell me that the Saints are a more talented team than the Packers. And yet, when I looked at those 2 teams on Sunday, it was not close, and it was an embarrassing loss. And, we'll see if Man Bun Rodgers recovers, but that was an ugly debut for the reigning MVP and a guy that a lot of people, not me, but a lot of people picked to lead his team to the Super Bowl.
Let me tell you where they were better, football-wise. Take Jameis and take Rodgers out of it.
Warm-ups?
The line of scrimmage. No, really. New Orleans is much better. They have their offensive line is better than
New Orleans.
Right, the front of Green Bay. Yeah. And New Orleans front 7 was better than the offensive line of Green Bay, whether they're healthy or not. And also, they still don't have anybody that can separate other than Devontae Adams. It was just a bad game plan from the very beginning. I was at the game because it was here in Jacksonville. we forgot how good the Saints defense was.
Mm-hmm.
And last year, this time, I do believe Green Bay went and stunk it up in Raymond James Stadium when they played Tampa. So I think they're going to be able to bounce back and get it together. But this time, I think Aaron Rodgers had an awful game in Tampa last year too, early in the season. He had a couple of pick sixes. So I look for them to bounce back, but you're right. They were an absolute dud. Let's get to some studs. Let's get to some teams that were very, very good.
Oh, I got one. You want me to go first, or you want?
I want you to go first.
All right. Well, I'm going to stick with the NFC and my early MVP favorite with a team that I had fourth in that division. But did you see Kyler Murray? Did you see Kyler Murray? I mean, my guy was flying all over the place. And I think it's pretty apparent and clear he was injured towards the end of last season and playing through it, because the way he was moving around and evading the rush and making guys miss in the backfield. And man, I love his game. He's honestly out. Like, if he was 5 inches taller, there would be no flaw, no flaws, right?
Yep.
Because he doesn't take big hits.
Mm-hmm.
He's impossible to get down on the ground. He's strong. He's got a huge arm, and he's as fast as anyone on the field. I mean, my Lord, I think if they win 10 games, he could easily be the MVP of the league in that division, because it's a tough division, and I think 10 games is probably the minimum. But they look good. That offense looked good, and Kyler Murray, liked what I saw from him.
They were fabulous, and they were absolutely very, very good. And thinking about the way Urban Meyer talks about how he wants to play, he wants his team built just like Arizona. Speed on the outside, dynamic quarterback, guys that can run on defense. That's exactly what he wants, and maybe he needs to figure out what they did, because the way he talks about the Jaguars looking, that's exactly the way Arizona. So kudos to those two cats. Mine, I'm coming up your way. The Bengals, man. We talked so much. We talked so much about the Bengals in the offseason. Mm-hmm. My man, Jamar Chase, who I was real happy, I was very, very high on, and he had the drops, and I got so many tweets from people saying, your boy sucks and all of this stuff, and they should have taken Penei Sewell. And I don't even know if I don't know how many times Joe Burrow got hit the other day or whatever, but they won a game that in the past they lose. And while Minnesota isn't a world beater, they're good enough to beat Cincinnati, but the Bengals found a way to win. And I almost got choked up when I was on my phone and I saw Jamar Chase catch that ball and get to the end zone and just point to the crowd. I love stories like that, man, because you could tell the kid was just having a hard time trying to figure it out, and then he got crushed on Twitter because he wasn't Waddle and because he wasn't Devontae Smith. And then all of a sudden, it was just like none of that stuff happened in the preseason.
For his whole life, he was better than both those dudes. Like,
yes, absolutely.
And so because he was away for 20 months and he was struggling in the preseason. And part of it, by the way, in the preseason, if you drop a ball, well, that might be your only series. So you're not getting a chance at redemption. And yeah, I agree with you. It was a great feeling for him. But if you ask people inside that building, on or off the record, Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor, and you can go on and on and on, they're like, nah, we're not worried.
Yep.
Jamar's going to be ready to go. And I think that's it. I think that all of those struggles, look, he hasn't played in a long time. That matters. And adjusting to life in this offense, which is complex, so complex that a veteran like AJ Green struggled in it last year. Jamar comes into it, and he's so versatile. They use him all over, and we saw it on Sunday. I was trying to tell people, fantasy football-wise, that we're just letting Jamar Chase drop and drop and drop. I was like, look, I'm at practice. They use him all over. They're going to hand the ball to him. They're going to give him screens, slants, drags, deep balls obviously goes. And guess what? We saw it on Sunday. So I agree with you. They got him going, and he's a problem. He's a problem because anytime he wasn't against, and he caught one on Patrick Peterson, by the way, who still has it. It's another takeaway. Patrick Peterson's still a baller.
Can still get it.
But yeah, he was good. But I think Chase has a chance to be the number one receiver on this offense, which I think people would have laughed at 2 weeks ago, which is kind of crazy. The fifth pick has a chance to be the number one. I think he does.
Yep. I do too. Look at me. I'm getting choked up, man, thinking about it. But yeah, I do too. I really do believe that he has special written all over him. And I think all of those receivers are good. Waddle caught a touchdown. Devontae Smith caught a touchdown. But Joe Burrow is still alive and kicking today, so people can rest easy with that. All right, so what we're going to do in the last segment, we're going to debut our power rankings for the Locked On NFL Network. All of our guys around the country that are a part of Locked On NFL in some way, shape, or form or fashion. We came in with a power poll. It doesn't look like the one I turned in, but we're going to go through the rankings, and we'll do that in just a second here on Locked On NFL. After I tell you guys about DirecTV Stream, get your TV together. That is now like my favorite term. Get your TV together. If it sounds familiar to you, that means you've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, and then you're watching sports highlights on your phone the way I do often. And you've also got your neighbor's best friend's cousin's login from their sister-in-law, and you're cheating. That's all right. You're cheating yourself because you got all of that stuff going on. You're going to mess around and hurt your neck. I got to tell you a simple way to get all of the entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one single place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So get rid of all that clutter and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package.
Summer is coming to an end, but maybe you got a vacation coming up, or maybe you just want to get that summer bod for 2022, which is something that if you want, you got to work on now. Well, Built Bar can help you do it. You got to get on the Built Bar plan. They're the #1 protein bar on the planet. They come in 9 delicious flavors, plus the occasional limited time flavor. And you're not talking about some chalky, crappy protein bar. You're talking about the world's greatest tasting protein bar. They're all covered in 100% chocolate, and the macros, they work. High in protein, low in sugar, low in carbs, perfect for you. And you need to check them out right now, whether it's the raspberry, the mint brownie, the peanut butter brownie, the double chocolate, maybe the salted caramel, which I think my boy Tony Wiggins likes. You can check them out by going to BuiltBar.com. Use promo code LOCKED15. You're going to get 15% off your first order. Again, use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at BuiltBar.com.
Locked On NFL here on a Wednesday. James Rapien driving. I am Tony Wiggins, and I'm riding shotgun. We got power rankings after week 1 for Locked On NFL. Jamie, you take it over, man. You tell me what's surprising. I'm gonna just let you know right now, the Jaguars number 32, and I'm sitting there like I'm gonna let all my people know. I don't really appreciate that, but it's earned. We
Where did you have
it.
them? Where did you have them? I had them 32.
Yeah, I had him 32 too. So I'm
just making sure. You know what I'm surprised about? We'll just continue the Cincinnati theme. The Bengals moving up to 24. They're ahead of the Vikings, ahead of the Bears, who they play this week. I don't know. I'm just a little surprised. I'm not saying it's wrong, but surprised that they got this much respect already, considering they were much, much lower last week.
I'm surprised that the Bucs are number 1 instead of the Chiefs or the Rams, and I'll tell you why. Because
really?
You know why? Because they almost lost at home, and they kept turning the ball over. They did. If the Cowboys, Dallas had to lead with a minute to go.
Oh my God.
They did. They had to lead with a minute to go.
You were impressed by Dallas last week.
A little bit.
Cowboys fans are going to hate me. I knew Dak could throw it and they could rack up points. You know what I hate? The fact that you had so many turnovers and your opponent gave you so many penalties and you still somehow lost the damn game. The Bucs didn't deserve to win that game, and they still did. That's what I hate. Come on. You were impressed by Dallas?
I think they gave up too many yards in the air. Yeah, I was impressed by Dallas. They gave up too many yards in the air, and even though they stopped the run, I was also impressed by Tampa, but I was more impressed, I believe, by the Chiefs, and I was really, really impressed by the Rams last night, even though they didn't have much resistance. So it's the Bucs 1, the Chiefs 2. The Rams are at 3. They're up 2. Then we round that out with the Seahawks. And I'm surprised that the Bills are still number 5, considering how lackluster they looked against the Steelers.
Yeah, I agree with you. To me, I was kind of bullish on the Steelers being better than a lot of people thought. And so that confirms that. But there's an ugly start to the season by Buffalo. So the fact that they're 5th. Also, to me, the Ravens 9th.
Yeah.
They were borderline. Like, if Green Bay wasn't just awful, I think the Ravens might have been my team where I was like, are you serious? They had so many chances to put that game away on Monday night. And the fact that they didn't, and they're still in the top 10 in the power rankings, I'll be honest. I like the Cardinals more than the Ravens right now. And again, that's what power rankings are. It's not season projections. It's right now. Where do you rank them? I would have multiple teams. The Steelers should be ahead of them, and they are. Chargers, even the Saints.
The Saints should be in the top 5. The Saints should be in the top 5 because of who they beat and how they beat them, and the way that they did it with the play at the line of scrimmage, because those things aren't phony. You know, you could say Jameis ain't going to throw 5 touchdowns every week, but generally when you watch the lines of scrimmage, that's real. That's tangible stuff. When somebody either whips or gets whipped on the line, that to me is a bigger telltale than any other statistic, because that lets you know who they are. For real, unless they had a bunch of guys that were hurt and injured. Like you talking about the Steelers. It's funny how everybody was like, they have nobody to play offensive line. They knew what they had, probably in development and probably where they could find players. And now they dominate the line of scrimmage the other day also against the Bills. Let's run back through the Chargers 11, Saints 12, Packers 13. I think it's too high. The Cowboys 14. The Dolphins should be ahead of both of them at 15. The Titans probably should be down near the Jaguars with the way that they played. And Arthur Smith leaving, that looks kind of shady in the light too.
They should be below New England for sure. I thought New England overall played okay. You know, it should have won despite a bunch of turnovers and penalties.
Right. Finishing up, the Broncos are 18. The Washington football team is 19. I thought they played pretty well the other day. Then you got the Raiders at 20 and the Eagles at 21. Two teams that won their games are behind a bunch of teams that lost in the first week, so I don't necessarily agree with that.
Including the Eagles. I thought the Eagles were really impressive.
I thought defensively they looked very good. I also thought that same thing. And the Colts 22, Panthers are 23. Your Bengals should be higher. They're 24th. The Vikings at 25. The Bears at 26. The Giants at 27. The Giants got some problems, by the way. The Texans, I would put the Texans a little bit higher because they won and they did it in such a great form. The Falcons are probably where we thought they would be. And then the bottom 3 are the Jets, Lions, and the Jaguars. So we're going to see how we will monitor this and see how this goes for the next couple of weeks. But at some point, we're going to have to start taking some of these teams that lose and lose poorly. We have to put them at the bottom. And the teams that win, you get credit for winning. Like right now, I think the Ravens are still ranked ahead of the Raiders. I would never do that. They beat them. You got to put them ahead of them, regardless.
And there are 11 spots difference. Right? There's an 11 spot difference right now. And by the way, it doesn't get any easier for the Ravens because they're taking on the Chiefs this week.
Ooh, and they've struggled in an area where the Chiefs thrive, and that is throwing the ball down the field. So we're going to see. Make sure you check out the Locked On Bets podcast with your boy Q and expert Lee Sterling. Before you go to BetOnline.ag, make sure you listen, because they're going to give you all the information, all the tools that you need, give you the plays that you should probably be thinking about, and some of the things that you should avoid based on what the odds are saying. So Lee Sterling and your boy Q break that down on the Locked On Bets podcast. You need to subscribe to wherever you get your podcast. It is an outstanding thing to hear and listen to. So make sure you check that out. All right, my man James. Good opening week, entertaining. Can't wait to see more games, and we don't have to wait very long because tomorrow there's another game. And it seems like now we're in full-fledged football season with the NFL. There's nothing like this. The NFL is king, bro. And we now see that the way things went this weekend. All right, man, James, I'm going to let you go. Take care. And thanks for pushing all the buttons for us today, because I didn't have to do it. So
of course, man. Hopefully we have a fun week too, and hopefully things are okay in New Orleans so we can get all these games in.
No doubt about it. We'll keep monitoring that situation and tune in to the guys the rest of the week here on the Locked On NFL podcast. For Tony Wiggins and James Rapien, signing off. Take care. Continue to take care of each other. We'll see you next time.